pick just because I don't want Eric to win. I don't give a crap about blah, blah, blah.
Right.
In that sense, it's a shady deal.
Yeah.
He is doing that for a specific reason. It does not benefit his team in any way whatsoever.
And Bob, I think the key is every trade, whether you agree or not, whether your personal opinion or not, but every trade should both coaches or more than two coaches involved in the trade should feel that the trade benefits them for either the now or the future or both.
Right.
If that's not the case, and if that coach can't explain why that's the case, then that would be a reason for a veto.
Correct.
Again, very situational, so it's hard to even break down examples.
Right.
But your example is a good one.
And that is that's a time when we as the Dynasty Trade Committee would email back and forth and say, hey, I'm not really sure what Brian's angle is here. Do you think we should discuss this more? Maybe we can actually talk to the coach and have him explain what his reasoning was, and if he thinks that benefits him.
Yeah, and we would even break down our own theories, as far off and crazy as they may be. We may even come up with, hey, you never know. Coach Brian may have this, as a reason why.
And maybe he knew that Peyton was nursing an ankle injury and wasn't going to be ready for the playoffs or something like that.
Right. So this isn't just thrown together. This isn't, just kind of.
It's not three monkeys sitting in a room, although some of you think it may be.
Right. And a lot of you tenured coaches remember what we had before this process, which is horrific, regarding just having the league vote, and obviously that wouldn't work because people veto. Just like, for example, if Chris and John have a trade right now that I feel very much benefits, say, John, then I'll just veto because he's one game ahead of me in the standings, and I don't want his team to get better. That's not a reason for veto. I think we're past this at this point, and if any of you have any questions or suggestions on how to make this better versus, again, not pointing any figures, but versus just, saying what doesn't work, tell us what you think might work, and we can certainly discuss it in the off season or at any point. So that's
one other point I just want to make. We take our opinions out of the trading. So, for example, if I don't agree with the trade, I'm not going to veto it. Two managers agreed upon a trade.
Right.
If I think that Adrian Peterson is worth better than, let's say, a fifth-round pick, but that's what he went for, good job for that manager for getting for a fifth-round pick. We can't put our personal opinions into the.
We will have our opinions, but we will not put that into our decision at all.
Correct.
And I mentioned those two reasons. I should say the other second reason why a trade could get vetoed, which honestly I don't think this has ever happened, is if a trade is so incredibly ridiculous. Like if Will right now traded Adrian Peterson
and Matt Forte
for a 16th round pick, like that would also open up some eyes as to how does that benefit you, which I guess they're kind of both very similar, both reasons. So again, that's kind of the way it works. Let us know if anyone has any questions or disagrees or whatnot. So Bob, on this show, we're going to review Week 5. We're going to break down Week 6. We're going to welcome on Coach Jae-Young Kim of the Yellow Peril. And Bob, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's your question?
What came first in your humble opinion, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, that is certainly the egg, because dinosaurs were alive before chickens were.
Okay, I've never heard that theory before, but Bob, you're interesting, and I like that. Do you ever think that you ever going to take a step back and maybe look up at the stars on one night and think, how did we all get here? How are we here? Do you ever think about that?
On a daily basis.
Okay, all right.
I am.
You're deep when it comes to that, aren't you?
Yeah. I think about I just look up
philosophical.
Have you ever just looked up and just thought that the stars are just like burning balls of gas just billions of miles away
that may have already exploded?
Yeah, and like what we're seeing is like really happening millions of years in the past.
It's crazy. It's
crazy
times. And maybe how did humans get here? Did we evolve from monkeys? Did God put us here? Did aliens put us here? I think a lot about the same theories when it comes to fantasy football. How did fantasy football get started, Bubba? How the shit?
I still don't know where you're going with this.
Bub, let me tell you something. Nothing good ever happens if you're out past 2 a.m., okay? Let me tell you that right
I've
now.
had a couple fun things.
Have you?
Yeah.
Good things, though?
Well, I mean, they were fun. I don't know if they were good.
What's the greatest thing you've ever done or accomplished by staying up all night? I'll tell you right now. Yeah, go.
This is actually a sad story.
Oh.
Well, not really. It's not a sad story at all. So my goal when I was a kid was to stay up on daylight savings time, and see the old. It used to be channel 22. There was the channel TV guide, and it would just scroll through.
Sure. And
it showed each time, and so my goal was to say, what happens at 2 o'clock when the times change and the clocks go ahead or they fall back? Like, what does it just say 2:30, and then does it go back to 2 again? Like, how does that work?
What was the answer? Did you do it?
So I stayed up one time. This was the first time I ever pulled an all-nighter. I was in I think 5th grade, 6th grade.
Yeah.
And nothing. It just went from 2 to 2:30 to 3 to 3:30 to 4. It didn't even change.
So, but it must have at some point.
At some point it did.
Wow.
But I didn't watch it for 4 hours straight. I thought it was between 2 and 3 is when it changed.
Yeah.
I was very upset.
It's probably Charter, right?
Yeah. Charter fucking sucks.
There you go. I've had, when it comes to, pulling all night, of course, sexual encounters. We've all had sexual encounters, that's a good accomplishment right there. Let's not kiss and tell, though. And then, of course, I've certainly done some gazettes late at night as well. So a lot of the Riverdale gazettes are done during the midst of the night hours. But you know what was also done during the middle of the night, Bub? Fantasy football was invented in 1962.
Now I see where you're going with
by an individual and his friends by staying up all night and just bullshitting and thinking of random games and things to do. The son of a bitch's name is Scotty Sterling. As I mentioned on last week's show, we have his ass on this show in the interactive segment. He's actually kind of an important guy, Bob. People know him.
Yeah?
He is the currently director of scouting for the Sacramento Kings in the NBA. And he also used to be the GM of the New York Knicks and the Oakland Raiders.
He's big time.
This guy is kind of important.
Big time. Slap the bass.
We said we're going to have him on the show to talk about his invention of fantasy football, which took place in the 60s. It's actually very interesting. A lot of our interviews, especially this one, you got to kind of soften them up a little bit. If we've learned that, Bub, throughout our interview process. You can't just come right out and ask some of the ridiculous questions.
Yes.
You got to give at least one or two questions, soften them up, and then you can get into it. So I urge you all to give us a question or two when during our interviews, because it gets better as it goes along.
Yes.
Not that this one doesn't start off good, because I'm sure it will, but I just want to point that out there. So, Bob, we're in for quite the show. Anything you want to add before we move forward here?
Yeah, I just want to say that when at night, when you're just thinking about your existence, just understand that someone loves you.
Oh, thanks, Bob.
Now let's take a look into last week's results. Who kicked some ass? Who sucked?
So, Bob, what do you think about all the pink going on here?
Not a fan.
I'm not either.
Nope.
I know it's a good cause, and I'd be okay with it for a week. And I know it kind of shows good on HD. Like, it's kind of, some of the uniforms it actually looks cool. Some of them don't. But for the entire month of October, it's annoying, and it seems like it's increasing. Like the invisible first down line is now pink. The flags are pink.
Yep.
It's
I don't like the flags.
Too much, right?
I don't like the flags. Not a fan.
So last week we talked about the North being incredibly...
I saw this already.
incredibly awesome and better than the South. Well, the South responded by defeating the North 6-0.
Has that ever happened?
That's a good question.
That'd be tough to find out.
Well, no, not really. Not really.
Yeah, it would be.
Not since we went to CBS, it wouldn't be hard to find out.
Yeah, but you'd have to go back.
The old Yahoo would be a little difficult. I'm not going to spend my time doing it, Bob, but anywho, let's go ahead. We did not pick a game of the week last week on the show, so we're just going to kind of...
No, you know what, though? I would have picked and Hong Kong as the game of the week last week.
Really?
And I would have been right. Look at that.
Well, let's go ahead and just go the way I wrote down the games randomly here. So, that's the first one here on my piece of paper. Looky there. The Hong Kong Cavaliers and the Bubblegum Shrimp, Bub. You are so Close.
And I want to point
So
out,
close.
I pointed this out in the Gamecast. If we got, counted